Viewers, it's become quite clear over the last few days that opposition is not ready to let go of the Vote Chori flag. The latest weapon to target the Modi government, the opposition continues to up the ante over what they call election fraud. The Gandhi family has been leading the anti-SIR protests, and even today, parliamentarians were seen holding a protest outside the Parliament building. Then TMC MP Abhishek Banerjee took it a step further, demanding the dissolution of the entire Lok Sabha. Mamta's nephew has dared the Election Commission to dissolve the Lok Sabha and declare 2024 verdict null and void. The TMC MP said that if a nationwide SIR is required, then PM Modi and his entire cabinet should resign and fresh elections must be held.
इसी इलेक्टोरल रोल और वोटर लिस्ट के आधार पे देश का प्रधानमंत्री चुना गया है और बीजेपी ने वोट चोरी करके इल्लीगली ऑर्डर में आया है। अगर एसआईआर होगा तो पूरा देश में होगा और उसके लिए पहला कदम प्रधानमंत्री से लेकर पूरा कैबिनेट को इस्तीफा देना होगा, लोकसभा डिसॉल्व करना होगा, उसके बाद आप एसआईआर करिए।
वन मैन वन वोट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का फाउंडेशन है और इलेक्शन कमीशन की ड्यूटी है कि वो वन मैन वन वोट इन्फोर्स करें और उन्होंने नहीं किया, उन्होंने अपनी ड्यूटी नहीं की। तो हम सिर्फ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन को प्रोटेक्ट कर रहे हैं, उसकी रक्षा कर रहे हैं, संविधान की रक्षा कर रहे हैं और हम करते रहेंगे, हम रुकेंगे नहीं।
इसी चीज का कि क्या जो राहुल जी ने सब प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में बताया कि सब फर्जी वोट लगा रखे हैं, सब नाम पते रिश्तेदारों के नाम सब फर्जी है।
However, take a look at what's happening in Congress-ruled state of Karnataka. After Rahul Gandhi claimed that voter rolls in Karnataka were flawed, K. Rajanna, a minister, then minister, now former minister of course, revealed that all of the claimed irregularities happened under the Congress's rule in the state. Hours after that assertion, he was shown the door. Top sources telling Times Now that yesterday in Parliament, Rahul Gandhi and the Karnataka in charge of the Congress party, Randeep Singh Surjewala, discussed the matter. At around 1:45 in the afternoon, the Chief Minister's PA received a call from Surjewala asking to speak to the Chief Minister. Both the CM and Rajanna were inside the assembly at the time. The CM was called out and he was told to sack Rajanna. Moments later, Rajanna was summoned to the CM's chamber and then asked to resign.
तुरंत राहुल गांधी से मैसेज आया कि उनको सैक करना है, not to accept, not to receive his resignation and not to accept his resignation. And he is 72-year-old ST leader.
My party will be looking at him and on what contest decision has been taken. You all know about it. I don't want to comment on that. We all have to bow to the decision of the party high command.
And if being shown the mirror by their own leader wasn't enough, the Supreme Court today also took on the naysayers of the special intensive revision. While hearing petitions against the SIR exercise, Supreme Court made some strong observations on this matter. What did the Supreme Court say? Let's take a look at the arguments and the counters coming in from the bench. Well, the petitioners had, in this case, of course, doubters of the SIR process have come out to say that SIR has already resulted in mass exclusion. The Supreme Court said that mass exclusion will depend on facts and figures. To the question about whether most enlisted documents are not available to the people, Supreme Court responded that it's a sweeping argument. Some residence proof is indeed needed for such an exercise. Then there was a question raised about those included in the 2025 SIR have been excluded, SSR, I beg your pardon, have been excluded from the SIR, to which Supreme Court said name in SSR does not necessarily mean inclusion. Doubters then raising a question about those included in the 2025 SIR, as I repeatedly said, the name doesn't mean carte blanche SIR inclusion. And then the question about whether Aadhaar is enough as a burden of proof on those contesting. The Supreme Court then came out to say that the Election Commission is right to say that Aadhaar is not proof of citizenship. Very, very important argument there. A question then being raised about dead persons being included in the rolls. Manner was questionable. In fact, two of them being dramatically presented before the court as well. Supreme Court then coming out to say it's only a draft roll. The aggrieved can raise complaints and get the issues resolved. Then a question about presenting the two Bihar voters declared dead. Supreme Court said that this is an inadvertent procedural error and can be corrected during the course of the entire process. Debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 10. Debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Rahul Gupta is BJP's national spokesperson. Joining us with us also is Tushar Gupta, political analyst. Advocate Nikhil Jain is a political analyst. Joining us with us is Abdul Razack Khan, political analyst, and Professor Manojit Mandal, political analyst, also joining us on the show. Let me start first and foremost with you, Advocate Nikhil Jain. Charge coming in that, or what Supreme Court has specifically said, is that all the points that we've seen, rather most of them at least, that have been put forth as arguments about the process being vitiated, about the dead being included, the courts have said that, look here, the process is going on. You should go ahead and ensure an appeal and see to it that these processes or whatever irregularities are there are sorted out as part of the provision. In fact, it's the 12th of August today, and as per the Election Commission, 0 complaints that have been filed so far.
So, Madhav, first of all, let's understand how court hearings function, because a lot of times what happens is that something gets reported in the media as the court having said it, but it's actually the judges posing questions to the counsels before them. Sometimes the judges themselves play devil's advocate so as to elicit the right argument and the right truth and find the truth in the matter and decide accordingly. What the court says is only in orders and not in just oral observations. But if you indeed want me to talk about it, then I would also talk about the fact that how the court said that if the SIR process doesn't turn out right, we wouldn't mind stepping into it, which is something the Supreme Court usually does not do vis-a-vis the Election Commission.
That is
Let's not also forget that earlier on a question was posed about Aadhaar and why Aadhaar.
Nikhil, doesn't that prove exactly what I was saying?
Aadhaar is not a proof of citizenship. We all know that. Madhav, what I'm trying to say is that Aadhaar is not a proof of citizenship. We all know that. But the problem is that in this country, except the passport, there is no proof of citizenship. And let me tell you one thing. According to a Bombay High Court judgment, even a passport is not a conclusive proof of your citizenship. So there is no single document in the country that can be used to prove your citizenship. So far as documents being fake is concerned, every document can be forged and faked. Whether it's the Aadhaar, the domicile certificate, the birth certificate, the matriculation certificate, and that is exactly what the bench said on the previous hearing. We need to wait for the court to finally give a decision on this, but fact of the matter is that the Election Commission was so audacious, so shameless that they told the court today that no, we are not going to give you the list of the 65 lakh people.
If they were so shameless, Nikhil Jain, why did the court not come down on them?
Because, Madhav, you have to understand how these proprieties work. The Supreme Court usually does not like to intervene when it comes to questions of other constitutional bodies. Yes, that is how it is. That is exactly why there wasn't a strong order on the first date itself. Had it been a case against the government, you would have seen a strong order.
The only point I'm making over here is that even if you look at the entire procedure objectively, the fact is that not one argument that the opposition has been raising for the last several weeks has found favor with the Supreme Court. If even one of the arguments at this stage had merit, and certainly the court has said that if there is some violation that we see in the procedure of the Election Commission, later we will intervene. The point is that they have not found any merit in any of the arguments. And let me bring in Rohan Gupta on this. Rohan Gupta, Nikhil Jain's argument is that this is on grounds of propriety, that the Supreme Court has not intervened. Don't take this as a clean sheet for SIR action by the Election Commission. Rohan Gupta, respond to Nikhil Jain.
See, Madhav, they are keeping on changing the goalpost from day one. The first objection was they wanted to cancel the complete process of SIR. Supreme Court clearly told no, that this is the constitutional right of Election Commission, and anything wrong if it is found, then definitely Supreme Court will intervene. But now, after so many days, after giving the list of 65 lakh voters to all the opposition parties, after so many days, not even a single complaint has been filed, what moral right the opposition has to talk against Election Commission? You tell me, Madhav. Just, raising the points in Karnataka, when in assembly election you are forming the government, there was nothing wrong. In Lok Sabha, the results are not as per you will find the issues. The whole process of SIR is to ensure the voter list has to be clean. And that is the overall objective. That is what Election Commission is up to. And Madhav, we must understand that 30% of our population is a migrant population, whether it is interstate or intrastate. Whenever they change their go for the change in the job, they will change their place. They will again get the new proof of residence and issue a new voter card. This process needs to be done every year or maybe whatever the appropriate time. But questioning just because of these voters that Election Commission is helping the ruling party or BJP, I think this clearly shows that opposition has completely run out of issues. Before Bihar election, they absolutely are left with no issue. This is their frustration, and they are preparing themselves before the defeat, that after the defeat, if anything goes wrong, they will blame election commission on the moral high grounds. They will say that this is anti-constitutional. But on the proof, on the issues, definitely, except the Rhetoric, Madhav, they don't have anything on hand where they can prove that what they are saying has any merit.
Yeah, and that's exactly the point. Nikhil, it's nobody's point that there cannot be errors. Of course, there can be errors. There's no doubt about it. This is a massive exercise that is being done, and that's why there is a process that is followed. There are booth level agents of all political parties who come out to say that they've got the voter list at their own individual ground levels. And in fact, there's a case of Minta Devi, which we've seen opposition talking about, that they've responded that instead of writing 1990 as her date of birth, she is accidentally, instead of 9 put 0, it's 1900, and that's what's led to that 125-year-old age controversy coming in. And I'd also like to add that since we're talking about Aadhaar and its applicability, even the list of NRC documents, Aadhaar is not there for a reason. There are 14 other documents, but not Aadhaar. So there is a precedent to this, Nikhil Jain. It's not happening for the first time.
Madhav, so are we saying that Aadhaar is a failure and the government could not manage the Aadhaar ecosystem?
It is possible, sir, it is possible for people to come in and get registered. There are certain districts where the number, the saturation is more than 100, 110. It's even reached as much as 120% in some districts. That is a fact.
Madhav, we don't even know that we have not had a census for the past 14 years. We have not had a census for the past 14 years. The census is delayed by 4 years. How do we know that there are indeed those 100 people in that district and not 120 or 130? We keep on talking about this Aadhaar oversaturation, but for that to happen, we need to first have a count of people. We haven't had that, and this government doesn't want to do it, because the moment you do a census, a lot of figures will come out which this government would not like. But instead of questioning about all of that, we are talking about issues that are perhaps not as important. Why is the
what is the obsession with Aadhaar then? Why is it so necessary to include the Aadhaar? Please tell us.
A couple of days ago.
You are saying it's possible, we don't know conclusively, but include it.
Madhav, it is not any obsession with Aadhaar. It is simply about including documents that people in a poor state like Bihar would have. Multiple surveys have shown that of the 11 documents the Election Commission is asking in this SIR, all those combined, of course I know that they are only asking 1 out of 11, but all those 11, they do not, more than 30% of the population of the state do not have documents like this.
Well, I don't know what can be easier than this, and there are other remedies also of approaching the local government there, the panchayat, as well as the local authorities. They all can be heard. There can be a hearing before them, and that's exactly why the Election Commission has been waiting for 12 days, but rather than actually approaching and trying to resolve it, the number of complaints at the moment are 0, and that's something which is on record. But I want Tushar to come in on this. Tushar, it is only an argument coming in for people's documents, what they genuinely possess, to ensure that people are not disenfranchised, that we are pushing for this as opposition. Your response?
Good evening, Madhav. Look, this is the problem with the Congress. They don't get into the technicalities of the issue and come here with all the rhetoric. Section 22 of the Representation of the People Act 1950, read with Rule 18 of the Registration of Elector Rules 1960, has the procedure of correction where an election registration officer, if satisfied that a name has to be deleted from the electoral list, he can, but he also gives a week for inquiry to be suggested by any person. So it could be a polling party, it could be the member of his or her family, anyone. Did the Congress booth agents or party workers make such an appeal anywhere? Absolutely not. Number two, the electoral rolls are not something that magically appear on the morning of the polling day. Every year, even in a non-election year, there are draft rolls, they are updated, they are shared with the political parties. In Karnataka, Rajanna was fired. He was fired. I won't say he was made to resign. He was fired because he suggested that the irregularities were there in the Congress era as well. Now, let me give an interesting example, Madhav. Congress won Karnataka State Assembly elections fair and square in 2023. They had the access to the electoral rolls. Their own polling agents signed off Form 17C. In 2024, around 50,000 booths in Karnataka, we'll guess that there were at least 40,000 polling agents of the Congress on every booth. Did even one booth worker say, I'm not going to sign Form 17C? In Mahadevapura, which Rahul Gandhi cites as an example, at least 400 Congress polling agents would have been there on every single booth. In totality, 400 across Mahadevpuram. Did any of them register a complaint that we detect a fraud, that the number of electors on the electoral roll is one number and the number of people who have turned out to vote is a different number? In Bihar, in Karnataka, their booth agents never register a complaint. Be it Form 7, be it Form 8, be it Form 17C, none of them ever register a complaint. Even now in Bihar SIR, Election Commission of India is putting out a release every single day saying that we're inviting parties to come and contest our data.
Okay.
Tell us if anyone is left behind. You do not hear anything from the Congress. And I'm
Abdul
again
Razack
telling
Khan.
you, there is a...
Yeah, I want Abdul Razack Khan to respond to that. You made that point I was making earlier as well.
Madhav.
The point is that, one second, just listen to me now. The question is very simple. There is a redressal mechanism available for Bihar that is not being used. There is a certain set of complaints that have been made by Rahul Gandhi. The point is whether he chooses to take the oath or not that EC wants. He can always go to a court with the documents and ask the courts to intervene if he wants to. That has not happened also in this case. The third point is this, that when somebody comes out and speaks the truth of what has happened, that these elections happened under the Congress rule of the state government of Karnataka, then that person is sacked. What's going on, Abdul Razack Khan?
Madhav, first of all, I would like to answer one by one. First of all, I would like to say that the Election Commission of late is acting like a BJP puppet. That is very clear and open. Secondly, why are these BJP spokesperson batting for Election Commission? And thirdly, you are saying that we need to go to the courts. Okay, we will go to the court. But before going to the court, let us ask the Election Commission. We have asked them to give us digital data. Why is the Election Commission not giving digital data?
So you will have to go to the Election Commission, sir.
The Election Commission's duty is to conduct free and fair elections.
Absolutely.
It is so hilarious that in Maharashtra, 45 lakh votes get added just before elections. And in Bihar, 65 lakh votes get deleted just before elections. We have given you proof. What proof are you asking? We have given you proof of duplicate voters, 11,965 fake addresses.
Abdul Razack Khan, simple point. And
you are
just
talking
listen to me. Listen to me. You can, I'm not cutting you short, but listen to me. On the same breath, you are asking a question. Why is the BJP speaking like the election? Why is the Election Commission functioning as a BJP agent, etc.? And then you ask, why is the BJP defending it? So if the BJP doesn't, who will? ECI cannot send its spokespersons. It's not a political party. Point number one. And point number two, the allegations of Maharashtra, also the Election Commission has addressed at its own level. That matter has gone to the High Court as well. And we all know the High Court has ruled. So if in court after court, you are not getting a favorable verdict, the point is that it raises questions about the credibility of these allegations. No one saying this shouldn't be looked into, but there has to be an official complaint.
Madhav Ji, please understand. Madhav Ji, please understand that every booth agent, after, he signs 17C, definitely yes, he gets a voter list, has it in his hand. He does not know each and every voter by face. The voter comes there, registers the vote and then go away. How will he know when the Election Commission itself has made so many discrepancies? Answer one question to me. Misuse of Form 6, 33,692 votes who are not falling in the bracket of 18 to 25 years. A 70-year-old lady registered herself in Form 6 as a new voter. 40,000 new votes in Mahadevapura Assembly constituency. That too immediately after Assembly elections. Fake addresses, 40,000 in one Assembly constituency.
Okay, Tushar, in Mahadevapura at least a lot of discrepancies that have been pointed out. Same person registered in multiple addresses, the same individually having more than one voter ID card. It's not one, but there are multiple such irregularities that have been pointed out in Mahadevapura. Your response?
Madhav, please hear me out patiently. Fact check number one, he said Maharashtra 40 lakh voters added. In 2004 and 2009 Maharashtra Assembly election, 30 lakh voters were added in which Congress won both the elections. The percentage of addition was similar to what it was in 2024, around 4.3%. Number two, he says that the election, the addition in Mahadevpuram was done immediately after the assembly elections. Even then, the draft roll is made available to the political parties at least 3 months before the election is even announced. They have a chance to suggest the changes, point out any discrepancies to the State Election Commission before the final roll is published. Was that done by the Congress? Absolutely not. Again, he cites Mahadevpuram 40,000 new voters. Even then, on an average, per booth, there are 900 to 1100 electors, not voters, electors. Then even, if a Congress agent felt that, look, there are 1,000 electors listed on my booth, there are 1,500 people coming here to vote, why did they not point it out during the assembly election? None of this ever happened. They're saying there was an artificial inflation. Let's take their claim on face value. Let's take their claim on.
The people.
No, I'm just fact-checking him. I'm just fact-checking him. I'm just fact-checking you.
It is 40,000.
You're not fact-checking.
Please understand, sir.
Nikhil, please, you don't even know the rules. Please.
6 months.
Okay,
So
okay.
what were you doing with the draft
People
rules?
get added
What
in
were you
6
doing with the draft rules?
Let me just come in. I want to bring in Monojit Mandal. Professor Monojit Mandal, this is a limited time debate. Please bear with me. Professor Monojit Mandal, simple question. What the Supreme Court has specifically said is that it is the Election Commission's remit to decide on the inclusion and exclusion of citizens from electoral rolls. So therefore, the question arises about what is really the opposition doing in terms of challenging this, in terms of the draft rule, instead of getting into the objections and correction mechanisms that are available for it to use. And you know, this kind of rhetoric that we should dissolve parliament, the government should resign, you know, what kind of a rhetoric and what kind of standards are these? You want the government to resign for what you are not participating in a process as far as the courts, as far as the complaints, as far as the rectifications and the mechanisms that are already available.
It's not about rhetoric only. Look at the way the election commissioner is acting out of his jurisdiction. They have started interfering in the governing of a state of West Bengal. They have summoned the chief secretary tomorrow. Now, what the hell they think about themselves? This person by the name of Ganesh Kumar, who everyone knows was a stooge of Mr. Amit Shah. I'm saying this with full responsibility. What business does he have? No, hang on. Let me speak now. I was waiting for 20 minutes. What business does he have when there is no election in the country? What business does he have to interfere in the governance of an elected government? He has summoned the chief secretary of West Bengal. Why? What business does he have to directly suspend the booth level officers when the election is not held? Article 324 of the Constitution has clearly charted the purview and the powers of the Election Commission. He is acting without his jurisdiction. And I think the opposition has done the right thing. They have all united against this government because this government is directly and indirectly running the Election Commission of India. And Abhishek Banerjee is absolute. The rhetoric is very much needed. If you are doubting the voters who have voted you, lakhs and lakhs of them, 6 million of them, in fact 6.5 million of them, that is 10% of the entire voters list in Bihar. You have chucked them out. You have excluded them. They have got every right to question the veracity of the election that you have fought, Mr. Modi. And yes, this SIR or special infringement of rights, I call it special infringement of rights. This should happen in every other state, not in the states where elections are due.
Mr. Mandal, please tell me if there are violations as far as the electoral roll is concerned, or the EROs have made a mistake, then who is the person? Who is the officer in the state who will be the one to take action? Please tell me, in our constitutional framework. Who will take the action? Does the state's chief electoral officer, do they all cease to exist because there is no election? Who is the one who takes action? Tell us.
There is no such exercise.
Is there not elections in West Bengal tomorrow? Next year?
Question of making error.
No elections in West Bengal next year?
There is no such exercise. Then why are you targeting the officer?
Sir, if there are issues relating to the voter list, the inclusion or violation of procedure, your own state government has taken action against individuals. FIR has not been filed, inquiry is going on, and you are questioning why is the Election Commission summoning them. Amazing.
And you have the rights to interfere. I want to understand when you have the rights to interfere when there is no election.
What is next year? When is the next West Bengal election? Tell us.
They are part of line order.
When is the next West Bengal Assembly election, Professor Mandal? Tell us.
Fact check.
When is the West Bengal Assembly election? Tell us, please.
Everyone knows. Please don't ask me stupid questions.
No, you answer the question. You are making stupid comments on television. You will be asked questions. We are exposing ourselves here. There is an election next year. If there is a problem with the electoral rolls, you have a problem with the ECI interfering. You're saying Chief Secretary should not be summoned. Then who is the officer to take action?
Why are you asking these stupid questions?
Of course you are.
Better than this.
Of course you are. You're saying that what is the need to have this when there are no elections in West Bengal? Next time we know there are elections, sir. In 6 months there are elections there scheduled.
The Chief Electoral Officer.
Quick response. Tushar, quick response.
This is the problem. These people have not read the law. Section 13cc, again, of the Representation of the People's Act 1950 gives the Election Commission the power to fire a booth officer. Number two, Monojit Mandal very naively is asking ki abhi exercise kyun ho raha hai? Every year, even in a non-election year, a special summary revision goes on. Every year the draft roll is published for the political parties to use. I'm appalled as how unaware, ignorant these people are from the Congress and the TMC, and they come on national television blabbing literally anything. The exercise goes on every year. Their own parties are involved in it with the Election Commission. What absolute nonsense.
Leave it there. We're leaving it there for the moment. In fact, the debates are out there. The Supreme Court is seized of the matter. We'll have to see whether the courts finally intervene in this or not. But certainly, of course, a lot of questions now coming in as far as the SIR exercise itself is concerned and the vote chori allegations. Rohan Gupta, Tushar Gupta, Advocate Nikhil Jain, Abdul Razack Khan and Professor Monojit Mandal, thanks so much for joining us this evening.